Hello everyone, happy Valentine's Day. Obviously we all knew this trailer was coming today. They made like a Puppy Bowl trailer for it for the Super Bowl or something. I don't remember. But we all knew this trailer for Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire was coming, and so we were all pretty excited for it. I'm glad it came pretty early because it means I can focus on this morning and take care of some other stuff later. Um, But yeah, I did watch through it. I just kind of wanted to go through parts of it just to kind of just talk about it. I guess for those who don't know, my thoughts on the first trailer, pretty mixed on it. A lot of it did seem like it's gonna be fun. Substance-wise, didn't really think there's gonna be much there. I had some concerns. I'd say probably the biggest one was probably the CGI was pretty rough in some spots for that first trailer. Um, and I think even here, one thing I did notice is that some of the CGI is definitely improved in certain shots. And so I really like the way that it sets up, just seeing that, like, you see Godzilla in the water swimming around and you see Kong coming out. I guess just going back to my thoughts is I was cautiously optimistic for the movie because even if it's not necessarily like a great movie, I'm never gonna complain about having another Godzilla movie. Unlike a lot of variety YouTubers or just casual people who know of Godzilla. I'm sure you guys have probably seen the videos, Nostalgic. I don't remember the other one. Dr. Shoebill or whatever. That's just the bird that he uses. I don't know the actual name, and I don't really care enough to look it up. But you definitely have those people now that are kind of coming into a very niche fan base and fandom, or I guess just IP in general, and acting like they know a lot about the fandom and just this franchise when really that could not be further from the truth, and it's very painful and cringy to watch them act like they're so. I would not consider myself like the hardest of Godzilla fans. No, there's definitely bigger people who know way more about this franchise than I do. I have not seen every movie. I've seen quite a bit of them, but I've not seen every single one. So, there's definitely more devoted fans. But this franchise has always been something special to me. I've always enjoyed it. I mean, it is what started off this channel, and so with a lot of the old videos that were on this channel have been moved to my second channel, plug here up in the right corner. But yeah, let's go into the actual trailer. Really like a lot of the shots that they use. It definitely looks interesting. It kind of looks like we're having kind of the backstory, I guess, is that it assumes that Kong species, which I don't know if they're just called the Kongs, I'm pretty sure they are, or if that's just Kong's specific name, but they refer to them as the great apes, which again, could also just be chimpanzees, orangutans, and gorillas, and any other primate that would fall into that category. But saying that they were the ones that were protecting humanity, which I think I think that gives a little more lore to the Kong species in a way that I like, and it doesn't feel too, I don't know, out of place, because sometimes you have lore added into franchises, you're like, that just seems a bit shark jumping. Whereas here, I feel like that kind of makes sense. I think it builds onto what has already been established within the previous MonsterVerse movies, like with Kong Skull Island and even Godzilla versus Kong. Even though I in bits, I think that takes it a bit extreme. But it does look like I was kind of right with my prediction. I do think Gia is going to be kind of the magical MacGuffin that is wanting to going to be involved with everything. But with her getting the signal, and right here, I actually have it frozen on one of the shots during her visions, and you can actually see Scar King. I assume that's Shimo. I don't know, the little baby monkey. I don't really care for its name, but you actually can't see Shimu and Godzilla in this shot. So there you go. There's your reveal of Shimu. At least that's not what was already in the trailer. And so which is kind of fun. That we kind of get to see it. Kind of like Mechagodzilla and Godzilla versus Kong. They don't outright reveal it, but if you pause the trailer in certain shots, you definitely can see it. Um, so it looks like kind of going to the Hollow Earth to look at, to basically investigate this big threat that even Godzilla and Kong are afraid of. Which, it's I don't think they actually are afraid. I think it's more just that's a threat. We need to take care of it. If I had to guess what was actually going through their heads, because I'm gonna be honest, if Ghidorah doesn't scare Godzilla, then I doubt that another monkey with a whip. And don't get me wrong, Shimu looks cool and intimidating, but I'm gonna be honest, Ghidorah looks way scarier to me. But lots of sci-fi, lots of stuff going on in the Hollow Earth. Lots of kind of like more add-on shots to what we already got from the first trailer. It does look like the little baby Kong, who I could just, I'm just gonna call him Monkey Grogu. That's basically probably what's gonna be. It does look like he's gonna be the one that kind of leads Kong to where the Scar King is and where all the other Kong species are, in order to, I assume, probably free him, or at least, challenge the Scar King. But it's kind of cool. We get to see a lot of the Kongs, like, almost doing kind of like a war chant. Ironically enough, kind of reminds me of Madagascar, too, with the sacrifice scene. I will say the CGI on the one shot with the Scar King roaring at Kong does look a little more polished up. I'm not sure if it's just me. That was one of the rougher looking shots in the first trailer, but it definitely looks like it has improved here. So I'm glad that it has improved. And with trailers, I believe I mentioned it. If I didn't, that's on me. I thought it, but if I didn't mention it, again. But the CGI on trailers is usually going to look rougher than the finished product, and so it was just weird to me because a lot of the shots in that first trailer looked like the standard you would see in movies, and then others just looked noticeably worse. I think that's why myself and a lot of others kind of pointed that out. But it is cool. We actually get to see Kong and the Scar King fight a little bit, even if it is briefly. And so we can kind of see just the size difference between the two. I'm going to slow down the speed so I could actually kind of see what happens in better. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. It does look like the Scar King's probably the better fighter, I'm going to guess. But honestly, just even the way that Kong brings him down like this, and even just the way he's built, I think Kong is going to be like the more powerful of the two. It's just Scar King's going to be better at actual fighting. And so like we get to see him use the whip and hurts poor Kong's little hand, kind of in a similar way that the helicopter got him in Skull Island. But I think it's pretty cool, and I do notice that the end of the whip does have the little special crystal, which I'm going to assume probably has a role with Shimu. I actually ended up getting some of the figures for this little Playmate 6-inch figures because I'm a giant man-child. What can I say? I like what I like. And so, interesting that the whip does not have that on it. And so, not that I don't think there really would be much for where it could go. I guess just on the little handle bit. But, it's just something interesting that that's not on there. Kong cuts his little hand. He yells because it probably does not feel good. And then we get a nice shot of all this lava falling down. And it's them saying, Kong can't stop this on his own. And you see Kong's just like... In the first trailer, I made a joke about how when he first sees the... Monkey Grogu, that I'll just play the clip here. But like here, you really see how expressive he is, and just like that's genuine terror. I will say I think it's just expressive enough where it's not it's like just the line that I'm like, just the right amount of expression from Kong that I want to see. I think if they did any more from him, I think it would be a little too much, a little too human. Because even though obviously primates, I mean, we humans are primates. Sorry for evolution deniers, I guess, but yeah, we are primates. And, you know, we are going to have similar facial structures, but you don't want too much where it's just going to look too human, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that might just be a me personal preference, but I guess, like, even the Skull Island Netflix anime series, in my opinion, Kong was a little too expressive in that. And, you know, like, it's not like a make it or break it thing, but you get to really see the real terror. And clearly this is Shimu, who's the first Titan, the Ice Titan, and we even get to see firing the ice breath, and Kong basically blocking it with the axe, which is a pretty cool little shot, which I'm going to assume this is probably how his axe breaks, because, again, we don't really see it in the... We don't see him using it, and so I would assume that probably would have to do not having it in the final battle, because otherwise why wouldn't he have it? So I do think it's interesting that even though Shimu isn't being outright shown in this trailer, they are showing kind of more than I thought they would, which I'm not really complaining. I think everyone, it's kind of like Mechagodzilla. Even if you didn't watch the trailers or anything, if you see all the toys and the promotional material, you kind of know Shimu is in this, and so it's not like a huge surprise, and I am glad that they still aren't outright showing him/her. I've heard conflicting rumors on the sex of the two, but either way, they are showing a little more than I kind of thought. And so, prediction here, I'm assuming this is after Kong and the Scar King fight. I would assume that Kong probably ends up beating the Scar King, and that's kind of when the Scar King ends up summoning Shimu, and then ends up breaking the axe. And so that's actually kind of my prediction. But you know, I might be wrong. I assume I'm gonna put some money on and say that this is where his axe breaks, and that's why he doesn't have it, because you see him using it against Scar King, and so it'd be kind of weird if this happened after. And I feel like that would be like a good way to show, oh, this is like a serious threat, that this blade that was able to withstand you know, Godzilla's breath, granted it's probably specially made for that, gets broken by this new Titan. That's a good way to show that this is a new threat. And so that's my prediction right here, for this little shot. But, you know, should be interesting. Of course, God, he's not going to be alone. We still get the shot of them running out of the hollow earth and running together. Still looks pretty goofy. And again, I think I did say this at the end of my first video for the first trailer. The more I watched the first trailer, the more I did come around to it. Still cautiously optimistic, but I am looking more forward to it than I previously was. And so, that being said, you know, it's still a goofy looking scene. I'm still not a huge fan of how Godzilla runs. I don't have a problem with Godzilla running. I think people who do, he's been running for a long time, even within the MonsterVerse, and so that's not really the big issue. More shots of the Brazil, which I assume this is going to be where the final battle takes place, with Jesus overlooking the first Titan that created all the Titans. So there's some symbolism right there. You see Shimu. Looks like a bunch of stuff is flying all over the place. Chaos. I do like that Godzilla and Kong, they're not like friends. I like that they are kind of actually like fighting with each other. And I've heard rumors about how this scene plays out, and I don't want to give spoilers. Granted, if you're probably watching this video, I assume you probably have heard similar things. But, you know, we'll keep it a surprise until then. But I will say one of the rumors I am kind of looking forward to, because it sounds really funny what's going to happen there. But I do like that they're like, no, they don't have to like each other. They just got to, like, put there basically just for the bigger threat. which I think that was kind of a concern of mine, is the way this first trailer made it sound like. It made it sound like they're gonna be like best pals and stuff, or not best pals, but like I don't more than allies, maybe not quite friends. When I think they best fit as just allies based on circumstance, not necessarily actual friends or anything like that. Um, and here we get the funniest shot in my opinion, which is we get the same shot as the Scar King roaring at the beach, but then we see it looks like the Scar King is holding Shimu, which I just noticed once I paused it, and then Kong just sucker punching him so hard, and one of his teeth fly out. And I'm not gonna lie, I was laughing really hard when I saw this scene happen. Um, I got a feeling this is like a good meme format, but just the way he lays him out. It's been nice to see Kong. I feel like Kong's punches have never I don't know. I felt like they've always been like almost kind of underplayed. I felt like we haven't seen like a real punch that's the full force of what a Kong punch would be. Like it's not that we haven't, but I feel like not to the power. I guess it's nice seeing it against an enemy that is not just an absolute tank and can't just like take these kind of hits. But yeah, it's still, oh my gosh, this is so funny. Just Kong throwing just one of the hardest haymakers. I love that. Yeah. That worth alone has like fully changed. Not fully changed. I still probably hold similar feelings, but I feel like this trailer shows a lot more of the fun stuff that we can look forward to. I think the first trailer kind of tried to play it too seriously. See some drones flying toward Godzilla, and it looks like this is prior to his evolved state. At least it looks like, and it looks like he does do one of his nuclear blasts. It looks more like it's kind of like an electrical attack, almost like an EMP, as opposed to. Nah. It still looks like It still looks like in King of the Monsters when he went thermonuclear. But which is nice. I'm glad that they do show him using this ability, because aside from one comic, which is, as far as I know, I think it is still considered canon. But the comic I believe it's Dominion, involving Muto Prime. I think that's the only time we see him actually use like the thermonuclear pulse, which he has had in other iterations. So it's nice that we get to see him here in it without, going thermonuclear, or without Mothra's help. I assume so. Granted, some rumors might be changing that, but we'll see. More Gia stuff. I think, like I said earlier, she looks like she is going to be kind of the plot device, I guess. But, hopefully this, seeing more of it, I think there is some potential for some good human moments. There always is in these movies. It's just, is it usually executed? We see baby monkey Grogu throwing a rock at one of the Scar King's troops, which makes me think that there's almost like a division, I guess, between the two. That you have, it still looks like it's going to be Kongs that like side with Scar King, and I assume some that are probably just enslaved. And so if that's the case, that makes it a little more interesting. That maybe explains why there's a bigger threat, because like I'm sure Shimu is going to be extremely powerful, but Scar King, at least to me, never really presented this huge giant threat on himself. The bigger threat to me always, at least from kind of what my understanding is, that Shimu's the bigger threat. Scar King just kind of seems like he's just kind of the guy in charge and stuff. That's a good fighter, but I always see these people basically hyping him up, that he's more powerful than Ghidorah or Mechagodzilla, which I'm pretty sure Adam Wingard, the director of this one and the last movie, has said that Ghidorah is the strongest monster in Titan in the MonsterVerse. And so just kind of interesting seeing that definitely would make it more of a threat, even if it is just Kongs that necessarily aren't as powerful as Kong himself. Just the sheer numbers of them. So I wonder if this is gonna be kind of the scene where Godzilla and Kong burst out of the ground and run together. But you know, throws a rock, hits the monkey. I hope this baby is not too annoying. Get a nice suit up scene, all the mechanical little goodness that we've been missing from the MCU's Kong putting on his new glove, and we get to see the Scar King use his whip to yank off a chunk of a building and throw it at Kong, and seeing Kong just get just punching it in the air. Kapow! And just breaking it is pretty fun. But I'm pretty excited. Godzilla and Kong kind of roaring with each other, that final shot, which is pretty cool. I think we kind of get to see a nice size difference between the two. When I first saw this trailer, I honestly thought that this thing in the middle was the baby Kong, baby Grogu, monkey Grogu. It looks like it's just the Sphinx. But yeah, I think this is a much better look at his design. I think Godzilla coming out of the ice is probably one of the roughest looking shots of the first trailer, and so I'm glad that I think this one really shows like what his actual design is gonna look like. And I never had a problem with the design. I thought it looked cool, but I think this is definitely the better looking of the two. And then we get the title card. And you know, it's the same title card we got, but yeah, I think this trailer is better. I think it kind of shows more of the stuff that we wanted to see, and kind of, it's still serious, but I think kind of giving a little more into the goofy. Whereas the first one, they kind of, no, it's not that they don't play it as a bit silly. I think they just play it too silly. But you know, I am more excited for this since the time passing from the first trailer and with this one, and so you know we'll see how it is, but I think it should at the very least be a lot of fun, hopefully, and I kind of hope they don't show too much more in the trailers. I hope they don't just spoil all of it with like TV spots. That's kind of what they did with every other MonsterVerse movie, is they'll do a million TV spots. And so you're not going to hear me talk about this movie any other times after this trailer until the actual movie comes out. I guess now I'm seeing it. It looks like the Warbat skull of where the Playmates toy is. That's where the actual difference is between the two. And so, you know, we'll see. I am cautiously more excited, optimistic about this, and so, you know, hopefully it's a lot of fun. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this second trailer. What are your thoughts? Are you excited, nervous, more hyped, less hype? Yeah, give me your thoughts. I am curious. But yeah, I'm Cameron Facer. Spank all those buttons. Stay safe out there. Hope you have a wonderful Valentine's Day. Hopefully you're not alone and by yourself and having pieces of plastic to keep you company. Anyway, I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.